All right, everybody. We are here with Jeremy and Indie Voyage Rob, which is myself. And we're looking at
Hello.
we're looking at Venture Forth. I almost said Indie Voyage again. We just need as much advertising as possible.
Oh, yes.
And we're looking at our update number 4 for Venture Forth, and we have got some cool new features here.
Yeah. So, the main thing that I've been working on this last week or two has been adding Perlin Noise, which is a really interesting way of generating pretty much anything. And so one of the ways that you can see here is there's like moss on all the walls and the floor.
And the creatures.
And the creatures, and on the sword. Yeah, so I've been experimenting with it, and right now I just kind of have it thrown on most things, just to see how it looks.
Super glowy thing in front of me that looks awesome.
There's I also applied the Perlin effect to fire and pretty much anything that's bright. But yeah, so the moss is kind of interesting. Like Perlin Noise, like in generating Perlin Noise, it's an interesting process. And in order to, like, for example, get the moss, you have to generate a couple different like frequencies and then add them together. So you can, like, looking on the wall far away, like you see a design, that sort of thing, but if you go up like really close to the wall, you'll still see like a fairly fine detailed like moss on like the edges and that sort of thing, and that's caused by this adding up of these different frequencies.
Oh, we got some fanciness here.
Yeah. And so I also used it to improve the fire effect. So you can kind of see here, it basically, I use Perlin Noise to do a distortion filter on everything, and so you can see this bat has caught on fire, and since he's like super bright, he's like melting, and so it's like distorting everything that gets super bright.
That's cool. I like the fact that things are bursting into melty flame when you get near them. That's
like as you can see that there. Never saw it coming. But yeah. So I think that this distortion effect works really well for things like fire and that sort of thing, because it really makes it look like things are melting. And so this effect is definitely going to be really useful in like the lava flame dimensions. Yeah, just to make everything just look totally melting.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to when you get a chance to implement some of the dimensions and get to see some of the familiar areas look very different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like the moss is really looking good, I think. I mean, it just, from having seen the game before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now you've got this very ruinous-looking cavern. Like, it looks old. It looks ancient now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes a much bigger difference than I was originally expecting. Like, just kind of throwing it on there, I'm walking through the cave, and I'm like, oh, this, like, it completely changes the feeling of the cave.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it feel more like ruins.
It does, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Now, have we seen that sword before? I believe we have.
Yeah, the Sword of Tombs. Although, with this Perlin Noise update, the runes that are on the side are like distorting as well. So it really helps to give it that magical, mystical look.
It does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks a little different.
Yeah.
It's very slick.
Mm-hmm. I love how the creatures burst into flames. Oh, it looks so good.
I don't know why, it reminds me of the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, yeah.
Person's face melting.
Yeah, pretty much. They just literally melt.
Very cool. So what else are you planning to use the Perlin Noise for?
So I want to do like I'm currently working on enhancing the environment. So like the walls and the floor and the ceiling of the cave, that sort of thing. And so I've actually been working with Alex, the artist who's working on the game, to enhance the these environmental models. And so he made a couple different versions of them that are like higher poly, but with the game, the way the game is currently implemented. Oh yeah, and you can see here, this is the gatekeeper.
Yeah, that looks
which looks pretty cool. Like when you start machine gun firing, the muzzle on the bow will start to heat up and glow and catch on fire, which is pretty cool. And then all of the light that the projectiles make everything in front of you just look like it's melting as well, because of that Perlin noise effect. But yeah, anyway, so like I was saying, we're working on upgrading the environmental models, and so he made a new version that's like a lot higher poly, and with the way the game is currently implemented, it actually causes the program to run out of memory, because these models are literally repeated thousands and thousands of times over. Like, I think this world here is made up of like 50 to 100,000 building blocks. And so, you know, every extra poly that you add adds like thousands and thousands of things to your world. And so, anyway, so we're going to have to work out a new way of balancing things, and I'm probably going to pull out some programming tricks, and he's going to pull out some artistic tricks to make things look really good at lower poly. But I think one of the programming things that I want to try is using Perlin noise to generate geometry, because then you don't have to save it in memory when it's just generated while the program runs.
That's very cool.
But yeah, so that's another way. But yeah, in general, like the moss on the walls, that sort of thing, that can be used to make a lot of different patterns and stuff. Like when I generated the moss, I was actually originally trying to create a marble texture, and just like playing around with the settings of this Perlin noise. I decided to like play around a little bit with the colors, and I'm like, oh, this just looks like moss. Let's make some moss. And then I was walking around the cave. I'm like, I like this. This looks cool.
It is. It's a very nice effect, and it very quickly adds something to the, like a characteristic. It gives it character.
Yeah.
It gives the cavern character that it didn't have before.
Yeah. And even with these very simple, repetitive models, like it helps break that up and make things look more natural. Mm-hmm. Even though, obviously, I'm not going for an exactly organic look with the cave. It definitely has architecture.
Well, exactly, but
yeah, but it's like a balance. It's starting to get a balance between the two.
Yeah,
which is good.
At some point you might want to. I mean, I'm looking forward to having less moss on the swords. But.
Yeah.
So how does that happen? Is that just adding it to the world, and at this moment everything's part of the world?
So in how the moss gets, oh yeah, you can see here when the Staff of Radiance is applied and it makes the super bright light, it just looks like it's melting everything around it.
Yeah, like that. These effects are very nifty.
But anyway, so basically how the Perlin noise is implemented is it's all done in the shader, which means that the graphics card is calculating everything in real time. And so whenever, like, I didn't do a whole lot of, like, special implementation to, like, only apply it to certain things. So it's just, like, a setting that I have turned on whenever it renders something. And so basically what it does is it takes the local object position. So, like, for example, the sword has its own vertices in object space, and then you translate that into world space. Mm-hmm. And so it moves around in world space, but its object space always stays the same. And so you generate Perlin noise from the object position so that the moss always stays still on the sword. But it's kind of interesting because you can change it to the world position, and then as you move the sword throughout the world, the moss on it changes, as if you're going through this like 3D cloud of moss, and then it just shows up on the sword wherever you are in the cloud.
I do like it on the bats. I will say that much.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's just an interesting, like, setting that you can just kind of throw onto it and see how it looks, and you're like, oh, that's cool, or maybe we'll change it a little bit, or we'll just leave it off this one. Yeah. But yeah, it's a very cool option to have at your disposal.
That's pretty nifty. Yeah, I mean, this game's just looking better and better all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, with the last update and everything was circus tenty, but if you look at updates 1 and 2, and you compare it to this one, I mean, you'll see the difference, and you'll see where it's going, and it's only getting better.
Obviously, the circus tent is not how the actual world looks.
Hey, I think it could be an excellent dimension.
The
candy level.
Yeah, candy level.
There's a game called The Lost Vikings for the Super Nintendo. I don't know how many of you out there would have played it. At a candy level, it was like the ultimate thing.
Yeah. That's one thing I kind of like about the dimensions idea, though. Like, it opens up the possibility for like a whole bunch of ideas that you want to explore.
Yeah.
So maybe some DLC for that. Awesome. No feature creep. I'm sticking to just a couple dimensions to start with.
Yes. No, always wise.
Yeah. I really like how the runes on the sword look in this dark area.
Oh, yeah.
They glow in the dark. This is actually a pretty cool place here with the sword. Like the Darklings, you know how they make everything around them dark? Mm-hmm. Well, they can also catch on fire. And then you can see them. Oh, wow. As you can see there. So when they catch on fire, like their eyes glow. That's awesome. It helps you like know where they are, and so it makes them a lot easier to fight. It really gives you an advantage, but it also makes them look very menacing.
Yeah, but first you have to get the sword.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is just like one strategy that you can use to fight Darklings, is to get something that will catch them on fire, so that you can follow them in the darkness. What's that?
I said my strategy is to run away.
That is always a valid strategy. Use stealth, sneak around them.
All right, so we will look forward to seeing you at Indiecade.
Yeah.
Is that very cool? You should just, I guess you'll either tweet or something, your location. Indie Voyage will be represented by Colin. Mm-hmm. So look out for him as well, and Reassembly's Arthur Danskin. Mm-hmm. They will all be there. So check us out, say hi, ask Jeremy about his cool new features. And our next update will probably be a week or so after that.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Jeremy, thanks so much, and we will talk to you next time.
Sounds good.